Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Welcome back to the study of the Vivekacūḍāmaṇi. Shankaracharya has asked us a question. Do you have the wish to have moksha, liberation or freedom? That is the first question that he asks us. Are you studying the scriptures just to gather information? Or is there an innate desire within you to have moksha or freedom? That must be clarified by ourselves. We need to ask the questions to ourselves. Whenever you do something, you must always become clear about why you are doing it. If what you are doing is not totally for the fulfillment of that very purpose, but just mere curiosity mongering, then it is of no use. Then vidya, that is knowledge, will be only gathering of information. And it is nothing more than that. Sri Ramakrishna's verse, which I have always said, Sri Ramakrishna says, the vulture goes high. It just travels very high, more than a kilometer into in the sky. But its vision is always fixed on the dead animals, the carrion of animals. It does not look for something better than that. Similarly, if our desire is only to gather information and try to prove to others that we are better than the others, then we have missed the point. So Shankaracharya is very, very particular about this, that moksha or mukti, freedom, must become our only goal. Sri Ramakrishna used to again and again emphasize this. Ishwar labh I jivaner uddesho in Bengali. That is, the attainment of or realization of the divine is indeed the only goal of human life. All that we do in this world is only a help or an assistance to reach to that goal. Whether we are working in the office or doing a business, or whether we are playing, teaching, whatever it is, any vocation that we do, any vocation that we perform, whether we are walking on the beach or going on a pilgrimage or going on a tour, all that must become subservient to that one goal of human life, namely God realization. This cannot be overemphasized. We must keep this in mind at all times when we study the scriptures, more so the Vivekacūḍāmaṇi. So he says in that verse that we studied last, Mokshasya kangsha yadi vaitavasti tyajati durad vishayan visham taryatha piyushavat dosha daya kshamarjava prashanti dantir bhaja nityam adara. It's an extraordinary statement that of Shankaracharya. It's a very potent mantra, I can say. It's a potent verse which we should always keep it in front of us, keep in view. So he said, if you have this desire, this wanting or craving for liberation, one must make an effort to shun the sense objects, because what does the sense objects do? They try to keep us away from the divine. They will always try to keep us away from the ultimate goal of life, God realization. So he says, you should keep it away as if it were poison. And he says, instead of going towards the objects of the senses, what should you do? We should cultivate these virtues of dosha, that is contentment. I am happy with what God has provided me with. I shall be happy with it. I am not going to unnecessarily keep on trying to get to that which is elusive. Contentment is a very important part of our lives. Compassion is the next. Daya, then forgiveness, kshama, and rujuta or arjavam, straightforwardness, one-pointedness, straightforwardness, and then prashanti, calmness. Where it is possible, let us try to be calm. Where it is possible. When we do not have any, even in adverse situations, circumstances, when we do not have any other choice, instead of getting agitated over it, just accept it, become calm. That is what he says, calmness. It has physiological and psychological implications, calmness. Then, and self-control. Keep your hands to yourself, as our mothers would say. Keep your hands to yourself. Do not try to overstretch. So self-control, that is what is as Dhamma, that is Shanti Dhamma, that means self-control. Tell your mind that no, this much and no more. That's a very great mantra. This much and no more. That is self-control. I take it to myself or take it for granted that this is all that I need, or this is all that I have to have. No more self-control. We will go to them. We have studied it in detail, but I just wanted to go through it once again because it is a very important sloka. It's a very important verse. The 83rd verse. Anukshanam yat parihritya krityam anadya vidya kritabandha mokshanam dehah parartho yamamushya poshane yas sajjate sasvamanena hanti. Anukshanam yat parihritya krityam. Anukshana means always. Kshana means a piece of time or a unit of time, kshanam. Anukshanam, that means following it, following the time. That means always. What should you do? Krityam yat parihritya. Whoever leaves aside what should always be attempted. Yat krityam parihritya. Whatever work that one has to do, whatever duty one has to accomplish, whoever leaves aside what should always be attempted, namely, what is the real duty in our life? That is emancipation from bondage, anadi, avidyakrita, bandha mokshanam. He says this avidya or ignorance. What is ignorance? Not knowing something is ignorance. So when it is subjectively applied, not knowing myself is ignorance. Not knowing who I am. This is very important. And he says, and it has been anadi. Adi means old, ancient. Anadi, that which does not have any beginning, beginningless. It is old as oldness itself. So he says, this ignorance is beginningless. That means anadi. And we cannot trace the beginning of ignorance in time. We do not know when it started. So many people ask us this question: when did we get bound? When did Brahman, or when did the jiva or the individual being get bound? We don't know. It has been coming from time immemorial, since the beginning of time itself. That is the answer that we try to give. Anadi, avidyakrita, bandha mokshanam. So this bondage that I have has been there for a very long time, but it may be anadi, but it can be santa. It means it can be removed, it can be overcome, it can be put to an end. When does it happen? Sri Ramakrishna gives a very beautiful example. He says, suppose you enter a room which has been kept dark for 1,000 years. It has been dark all the time, and the walls of the room only knows darkness. And you strike a match and create a fire or create a flame over there. Would the walls of the room resent it and say, no, 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 don't light the lamp. We are used to this darkness. We want to remain in darkness. Does it say? No. Immediately the room will be lit up. Similarly, as soon as knowledge dawns within us or dawns upon us, that very moment you will become realized. So some people have this strange notion that being a monk is a higher vocation and that only a monk or a renunciate can become free, can become a jnani. That's a total wrong notion. Anybody and everybody has this birthright to become free, to become a jnani, to become a realized soul. Many instances can be given, even in recent years. There are extraordinary people who have been in the household, being in the midst of all temptations, being in the midst of all actions, and yet they have become knowers of Brahman. So it is not given to only a select few to become knowers of Brahman, or it is not given to a select few to to aspire for liberation or more. It is the very birthright of every person to become free. So whoever he says, I will read the English translation of this verse. Whoever leaves aside what should always be attempted, that is, namely, emancipation from the bondage of ignorance without beginning, and passionately seeks to nourish this body, that is, only thinks of one's own body, only thinks of how to make this life better and better physically. So, for such people, he says, which is an object of others to enjoy, commits suicide thereby. Suppose I am traveling somewhere in a remote place and I go without food or water or whatever it is for days together, and then my body falls over there. All this well-built body, well looked after body will become just another piece of meat or food for some some animals or for some insects. That's what happens when you die somewhere in the mid desert or somewhere in the mid bush. That's what happens. So says, what are you thinking so much about? Why are you thinking so much about this body alone? So he's urging us. See, uh, the duty or the task of a world teacher, an acharya, is to shake you. He will use such strong language that will shake you from your roots, as it were. And in this scripture, Sri Shankaracharya does not spare us. He just tells us those facts which are quite very distressing to us. No doubt about that. They are. These words that we are studying now are distressing words to us, no doubt. But from out of that kind of a distressing words will come up that inner urge for us to become free. It is to shake our very roots, because hidden within us is this immortal being which is always trying to manifest itself. The divine being that is within us is always trying to come out. Sri Ramakrishna used to give an example when he used to say about his realizations. He used to say, in Bengali, he used to say, Brahma unki juki marche. That is, this Brahman is peeping out from every pore, as it were, peeping out everywhere, trying very hard to come out and manifest, and we are pushing it down and say, no, 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 I cannot be Brahman. I cannot be the divine. There is no divinity within me. See, my body is not in good shape, my mind is not in good shape, and so on, and my environment is not in good shape. So how can I have that divinity within myself? So we are trying to slap it inside and push it inside, as it were, which Shankaracharya does not accept. Says no. He is using such words so that we can wake up. We can awaken our hidden self. We can wake up, and then we can manifest that divinity within ourselves. So do not be blind to the spiritual reality that is your very own, which is your own property, which is your very, very own. So do not be blind to that. So such blindness is called as spiritual blindness. What is spiritual blindness? Spiritual blindness is trying, instead of nourishing the Atman, the knowledge of the divine within oneself, we are only trying to nourish this body, the mind, all the time. Yes, it is essential. Without the body is a great vehicle, there is no doubt. But the body, the vehicle cannot come within the house. It has a particular place. It has to be kept in a particular place. So it cannot be just driven inside the house all the time. No. So you have to leave it outside, then get in. That is what we do. Every one of us does it. So he says, this body is nothing but a creation of our own ignorance. Avidya krata, he says, this has been the creation of our own ignorance. And it is something which is pararthatva, that it is meant for others to enjoy, like, animals, birds, and insects, etc., when the body is gone. So when this life force, that is the Jiva Atma, leaves this body, it becomes a home for all kinds of worms and other creatures which will be breeding upon that. So Shankaracharya is very, very forcible in this verse, and he is giving us an inkling about what is going to come in the future. That is, they will not spare us from revealing the real truth. He will not spare us at all. He says in the next verse, Sharira poshanarthi san ya atmanam didrukshati graham darudhiya dhrutva nadim tattum sagachyati. Whoever seeks to realize the self by devoting himself to the nourishment of the body proceeds to cross a river by catching hold of a crocodile, mistaking it for a log. See? That is, if you are trying to hold on to the body all the time and think that this alone will take you to the highest, yes, we should make it a vehicle, but that alone is not sufficient. What is essential is a constant remembrance, a constant reminding of ourselves that we are the Atman. I am the Atman. So that has to be put into the equation in our day-to-day life. That I am a part and parcel of the divine, or I am the Atman in the Advaitic sense. So, and he gives that example, which I just read it now. So if you are only devoting yourself to the nourishment of the body, you are like a person who is trying to cross a river by catching hold of a crocodile. You hold on to a crocodile and think that it is log of wood, but actually you are holding on to a crocodile. Of course, you will argue that if I can hold on to it very tightly and grasp the the mouth of the crocodile, then it is possible that it may take me to the other side of the river. That's a different argument. But if I try to hold upon it, what it will do is it will just turn me upside down and then will catch me by the neck and finish me off. That's what it would normally do, unless you are an extremely strong person that you can hold on to the crocodile and try to cross the river, which is very rare. Let us go to the next verse. Mohayeva mahamrityur mumukshorvapuradishu moho vinirjito yena samuktipadam Mohayeva mahamrityuhu. What is death? Real death is infatuation. Mohayeva. For a person who is a mumukshu, means a seeker after liberation, the infatuation over things like the body is a dire death. Sensory enjoyments can only go to a certain extent. So it cannot enter into the portals of jnana, or even into the portals of bhakti. No, it will lose all its power when it just tries to enter into it. So moha is this this um, infatuation that we have over the things, like the body is a dire death. He who has thoroughly conquered this deserves the state of freedom. See, if a person who has conquered it, who has overcome this infatuation about one's own body as well as others' bodies, if you have overcome that, then of course you really deserve the state of freedom. So that is a, a qualification or a pre-qualification, if we can say, for achievement of freedom. That is, one must be prepared to give up this infatuation, this lust for the physical as well as mental satisfaction. So that's what he's talking about. Moham jahi mahamrityum dehadara sutadishu yam jitva munayo yanti tad vishno paramam padam. Moham jahi, conquer the infatuation. Jahi means to conquer. Mahamrityum, see, it is mahamrityu. It brings in death. Death in the sense, death of the desire to become free. That means you have completely negated that desire. You have completely put it in the fire and said, no, I don't want to become liberated. I am happy enough to be what I am. I am happy enough to lead a life as I am leading right now. See, this complacence is what Sri Shankaracharya does not want us to have. Complacence is no good. Says, no, don't be complacent about it. Try your very best. See, there are two ways of doing this. One is just to negate everything and then say, look, this is not me, this is not me, and that I am the Atman. That is one thing. The other is filling in yourself with the consciousness or the thought that I am a part and parcel of the divine. Both these paths can be adopted. In fact, we need to adopt both of these paths in our life at times. So when there is an intense body consciousness, then what should we do? We should impose upon ourselves the feeling that I am part and parcel of the divine. I am life itself. I am the divine itself. So why should I worry or bother about this difficulty that I am having it? This is temporary and this shall also pass away. There is no doubt about it. But I shall not become a prey to such feelings that, oh, this has come to me. What shall I do? What will happen to me? What will happen to my family, etc., etc., which is a thought which crosses all our minds. The thing is, it is not wrong, but it is perfectly right. But what Sri Shankaracharya is doing is to instill within us this feeling that we are the heirs of this immortal bliss are called the Atman, the self. We have to stand upon the self. We have to have control over ourselves. Swami Vivekananda's great sayings, you conquer the lower with the help of the higher. With the help of the higher, you conquer the lower. That is what we need to do. So when debilitating thoughts come to our mind, when debilitating feelings occupy our psyche, what we need to do is to bring in or fetch the thought that we are heirs of immortal bliss. I am a child of the divine, or I am a part and parcel of that divine. This thought will be continuously referred to in this book again and again. So please do not get worried about it, or do not get bogged down by this. You see, or sometimes you may feel frustrated that the same thing is being repeated again and again. It is essential because we have been falsely telling ourselves that we are the body, we are the mind. We have been falsely telling us for ages. How many thousands of years we ourselves do not know. We have been telling it to ourselves all the time. So therefore, a few times of repeating this through Shankaracharya's works, that I am the part and parcel of the divine, will not be wasted. It will definitely come to our help. So, Moham Jahi Mahamrityum, conquer the dire death of infatuation over your body, wife, children, and so on. Conquering which the sages reach that supreme state of Vishnu. Tat Vishnoho Paramam Padam. Say, Tat Vishnoho Paramam Padam. Vishnu, here, it has two meanings. One is Lord Vishnu, that is in the Hindu pantheon, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu is the preserver of the universe, and therefore we take refuge at his feet. That is one meaning. The other meaning is Vyapakatvat Vishnu, that which is all pervasive, is pervading the whole of the universe and beyond. That is called as Vishnu. So we should attain to that state wherein I become one with the whole. I am no more a part. I am one with the whole. That is another meaning of this term Vishnu over here. Yam jitva muneyo yanti tad Vishnu paramam padam. The sages have all achieved this spiritual illumination or spiritual realization, which is known as the state of Vishnu. You become one with Vishnu. You reach the feet of Vishnu, the foot or feet of Vishnu, and become one with it. You are merged in the feet of the Lord. That is the idea that has been expressed over here. So now, in the next verse, Shankaracharya talks to us about the constitution of the body. All this time he has been saying, do not think that you are the body, but he also wants to impress upon us the idea that we should be aware of what the body is so that we can dissect it. We can dissect it little by little and understand what this body really is. Does it have any permanence, or does it have any inkling about the real bliss that we are always trying to achieve? If bliss were within this body, if real happiness were within this body, then the elements that are, or the parts that the body is made of, must be having those those qualities. Does it really have? No. That's why this two verses, that is 87th and 88th verse, Sri Shankaracharya is dissecting it, as it were, and is trying to create kind of aversion within us. This is the great task of the teachers, or the function of an acharya, is to create the ultimate conditions for us to make sure that we go towards the goal and not be swerved away from any of our assumptions. So in the next two verses, he talks about it, and let us study it. And these two verses, that is 87th and 88th verse. Tvang mam sarudirasnayu medo majjasti sankulam purnam mutra purishabhyam sthulam nindyamidam vapuhu panchikritebhyo bhutebhya स्थूलेभ्यः पूर्वकर्मणा समुत्पन्नमिदं स्थूलं भोगायतनमात्मनः अवस्था जागरस्तस्य स्थूलार्थानुभवो यतः. So, what does he say? Tvak mamsa rudhira snayu medha majja asti sankulam. This body is to be deprecated, or it should be looked down, says, or it should not be given so much of importance. For what does it consist? It consists of the skin, the flesh, the blood, arteries and veins, fat, marrow and bones, and is full of other offensive things. All of you are aware of these things. I need not expand upon this. I need not explain this at all. Now, who has created this body? Says, Panchikritebhyo bhutebhyah stulebhyah purvakarmana. The gross body is produced by one's past actions out of the gross elements formed by the union of the subtle elements with each other, and is the medium of experience for the soul. That is its waking state in which it perceives gross objects. Okay? He said it needs a little bit explanation. Even I would have probably been happy if I could show the PowerPoint, but I will do it later. Today I am not equipped with that. So, who created this body? How is this body formed? Of course, some of you are doctors, you know it much better. But from the spiritual point of view, Shankaracharya is putting forth these arguments. The gross body that we know of is produced by one's past actions out of the gross elements formed by the union of the subtle elements with each other. Panchi kritebhyo bhutebhya sthulebhya purva karmana. See in the 73rd and 74th verse, I think, 73rd and 74th verse, it has been discussed. The sky, the air, fire, water, and earth. These are the subtle elements. And being united with parts of one another and becoming gross, they form the gross body. And their subtle essences form sense objects, the group of five such as sound, which conduce to the happiness of the experiencer, the individual soul. That's what we studied in the 73rd and 74th verses. So the subtle elements of nature, the pancha, bhutas, mahabhutas, or the five elements of subtle elements of nature, they unite together in a certain proportion to become the gross elements. They all permute and combine in order to make the gross elements. And these gross elements again then combine together to produce this gross body. So body, but what Shankaracharya is driving at is, what is that force which puts together or which crystallizes all this combination and formation of our body? What is it that puts it all together? It is our own actions, our karmas, which through the causal body, it puts it all together. This concept, this is our own past actions which determine what type of body we should get, what kind of body we should get. This is the spiritual view. I'm not going into the scientific view of these things, but I'm just placing before you what Sri Shankaracharya has explained in this verse. He has only said that this is what we think of. This is how we think. The subtle elements, they all combine and permute and they make the gross elements. And then the gross elements, they combine together to produce this gross body. So it's a very, very difficult process, or it's a very complex process. There's no doubt about that. So our past actions, they combine, they come, and then they sit and they determine what kind of a body or where we have to be born, how we have to be born, etc., are decided by our past karmas. So this concept of karma also brings to us the concept of reincarnation, punarjanma, karma and punarjanma. So it will be quite some time for science to accept this. Some scientists have already started accepting it, but it will take probably several more years or several ages for science to accept this concept of reincarnation. But Shankaracharya has put before us this concept and say that this sthula sharira or this gross body has behind it the sukshma sharira or the subtle body. And that subtle body carries all the impressions that we have and then delivers it to the sthula sharira for it to work out. See? So I will stop here today so that I want you to kindly go through these two verses at least. And I would request you to deeply think about what has been studied today and come up with your questions or your observations about this. I would also like to learn from you. And if I know anything, I will also try to explain it to you. Okay? The subtle body and the gross body. It has got a lot of implications in our day-to-day life. All our actions, all our thoughts, all our feelings, etc., all are guided by our past actions, present actions, etc. So it is a complex situation wherein our past and the present interact with each other and create situations or create the environment for us to function in this world. Okay, I think we will stop here. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. So kindly keep it in mind. If you have any thoughts about it, if you have any questions about it, and I'm sure lots of questions will come out of this. If you have those, kindly send it, and we will try to put it together and answer it when we meet next after 2 weeks. Okay?
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji. Namaste.
Namaste.